Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com with this week's episode of the Market Monday. Imagine that. This is an historic event. And in Market Monday, not only on Monday, but on Monday morning, afternoonish. Wow, we're really getting serious here at Rogue Deck Builder if we actually get a Market Monday out on Monday. However, we're going to talk about the mystery booster packs today. We have all of the information. There's still a couple of unknowns with the booster packs. They have two different types. We have the convention edition and then the what they call the LGS version. So first of all, we don't have a price on these. We have, I believe they did say how much the convention edition was going to be, or people actually played it so they know the price, and it was quite pricey. So I'm thinking that these mystery boosters are also going to be more than your average pack at your local game store. If someone can correct me in the comment section if they've actually released a price for these, like an SRP price for these. But I've checked and haven't been able to see what they're going to go per pack. So that's going to factor in of how much the cards are going to be able to hold value. And we also need to know supply. So there's a lot of factors going on when I've been getting this question asked like crazy. Where do you think the prices are going to go from the mystery packs? So I thought a set like this was going to come. First of all, this was revealed to me about 2 weeks ago by one of my insiders. They already had the scoop on what these were. They even told me there was going to be two different packs, a convention edition and an LGS version, and there was going to be over 1,000 reprints. So once again, the source was spot on. And they did say that they're going to have anything goes except for reserve list that can go in these mystery packs. The reasoning behind them was that Channel Fireball is running out of Chaos Draft packs. So the Shards of Alara time spiral type packs are getting very pricey and also very rare, so they had to come up with a product to keep the Chaos Drafts going, and this was the product they chose. Now, whether this is going to be mystery boosters are going to have like different editions, that's also something we'll have to wait and see. So let's just read over what these mystery booster packs are, and then we can look at all the cards that are contained in them, and I can give my predictions on the financial analysis of this set. So the booster packs are inspired by the Cube and Chaos Drafts. That's the reasoning. They're running out of packs. They didn't really say that in this article, but again, the insiders say that those sort of sets are getting extremely rare to try to fire these chaos drafts, and incredibly expensive too. The set contains a whopping 1,694 reprints from throughout the game's history, no reserve list though, plus 121 copies of something new and surprising, which ends up being the test cards. So they're test cards that never made it to print, and they will be fun for draft, but they won't be legal and constructed. There will be two different types. We'll have the Magic Fest boosters and the LGS boosters. Each convention mystery pack contains 15 cards, 14 from the Gigantically Awesome main set, and there's something new and surprising, which is the playtest, blah, blah, blah. The WPN version will also include 15 cards, 14 from the main set, and one of 121 possible foil cards. The foil cards are cards not found in the main set. So this is the unknown information, is what cards will be contained in the foil slot. Now, these 121 cards will probably be more common than the mythics and the rares, though, because when we get the breakdown of mythics and rares, I think there's more than 121 rares in the set. So I'm thinking that these foil cards will actually be the ones that will hit the most for their price. But still, 121 packs, that's what? That's one out of almost every 4 booster boxes. So they're not that rare either to get like that specific foil. So this is going to have a lot of cards, which does mean the specific cards will be able to hold their value a lot better than this was printed in something like a master set or even in any other set, because of the rates of chance of getting that specific card. So each of the 14 booster slots from the main set of 164 cards has its own sheet of 121 possible cards. That means you could do an entire draft and not see the same card twice. So that's what it is. So there's a list of the cards of we have it broken down here on MTG Goldfish now, and it looks like the most expensive card is Mana Crypt that was last reprinted in Eternal Masters. So these are the type of cards that I think are in the most jeopardy, is the low supply cards. So if you actually look the top two, the Bloom Tender and the Mana Crypt, these are the two that get affected the most by a reprint, even a low reprint, because it's mainly supply that is keeping these cards at a high cost. So this one, Bloom Tender, has only had the one printing in the Eventide, and Mana Crypt has only had a few printings, one as a promo card, and then another time as the Eternal Masters. And I think this also was a Kaladesh. Wasn't this a Kaladesh? Let's take a look. Kaladesh Invention. Yes, it was a Kaladesh Invention as well. So you can see there's not a lot of printings for the Mana Crypt, and that's Eternal Masters ended up being a pretty low supply. I believe it's the second lowest supply of all of the Master sets. So of course we had Modern Masters 1, and then we had Eternal Masters that had the second lowest supply. So that has a lot going for Mana Crypt, and that means that this one has the most jeopardy of having the most substantial price decrease. However, the amount of play that Mana Crypt does see in EDH, I'm not sure a set like this with 30 mythics, 151 rares, and you add those together, 181. So that's the chance of actually getting a Mana Crypt. I mean, a mythic will be what? Maybe 1 out of 6 packs. So then you have times that by 30. So 1 out of 180 packs will have a Mana Crypt in it. That's probably not enough to really creep the price down too much. Of course, there will be a temporary price loss to all of these cards, but I think most of them will have a very good job of rebounding. The cards that are more safe are cards like Purphoros that have high supply. So if this ends up being a mythic in the set, having this in a mythic slot for the mystery packs is not really going to hit the price of Purphoros because of the Theros just had an insane supply again. And you can even say that for like rares like Kolaghan's Command. Kolaghan's Command has a better chance of holding its price than something like a Sliver Hive Lord, just because of the demand is what's keeping this cost up to begin with. Dragon's Tarkir is not a rare set. It is very, very highly opened. And this was able to go up to $25, so we should see that be able to stabilize. Some of the Commander set cards and Conspiracy cards, these two have a good chance of being not crushed, but going down in value. But still, an overall, the cards overall in here, I do not believe are going to be affected too much by prices. Again, I hope they come up with like the actual rarities of these, because Demonic Tutor, will that be a mythic or a rare? Probably not an uncommon. Speaking of uncommons, though, there are some pretty decent uncommons if they stick at their slots that can get reprinted or can get crushed in this set. So let's look at uncommons so far. These are the type of cards that I would unload. So like cards like Carpet of Flowers. So the first of all, Carpet of Flowers is only expensive. It does see a lot of EDH play, and it actually does see some legacy play, I believe, as well. This is one where during your main phase, you may add up to X mana of one color mana pool or X number of islands target opponent controls. I believe it's errated to number of islands opponents control. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, so that's why EDH would like to use it, because if you're sitting at a table, you got to expect that one person is playing blue, and Carpet of Flowers is just a good ramp spell at that point. If this continues to be an uncommon, expect cards like this to get crushed. So I would sell the Carpet of Flowers, and even something like Aura Shards as an uncommon. If it continues at the uncommon, I don't know if they do. Aura Shards shouldn't be too far down. Are they going to give us the rarity of the Aura Shards? So I thought it was pretty close down, but man, we're not even into the AUs yet with this massive set. All right, so Aura Shards. Click on Aura Shards and see what comes up. All right, does not have the rarity. I think that people have spoiled like pictures of cards they've got, so maybe someone has seen it. Aura Shards. Someone in the comment section correct me if this is going to be a rare. If it's a rare, that's not a card I would sell, but if it is an uncommon, it has a higher chance of getting crushed here. And those are the types of cards that I absolutely would unload. Cards like Herald's Horn, Mishra's Bauble would probably be a sell. The Umbral Mantles, the Path to Exile. Path to Exile has the best stability just because of how much play it sees. Same thing with the Ancient Ziggurat. This sees a ton of play. But you can go down these. Triumph of Hordes would be another good one to sell. These are going to be the ones that have the highest chance of getting crushed. And you can see this uncommon slot, though, does have a lot of value in it. We're not even down to $4 yet. And we're up to 20 cards. And then $3 still. Tons of $2 cards, $1 cards. So I guess this is Wizards' way of getting the necessary reprints that are tough to put in both the pre-constructed decks like Commander, as well as in standard sets or Masters sets. So this is going to be the way that they get those necessary trickle reprints. And that's kind of what I've been calling for a long time, is having, I thought what they were going to do is they're going to do something similar to Treasure Chest on MTGO and release those to game stores to give out as the promo packs. But promo packs are containing just standard cards forward still. Yeah, thought that they'd change up to something like this. But mystery packs, if they make this like a annual or every 2 years, every 3 years, and they keep this in high supply during that time period, meaning that you can continue to order cards or order these mystery packs for the next year, I think they'll have a good chance of stabilizing these prices, and even like the uncommon slot really affecting these prices, halving or even 75% devaluing these cards. So I definitely memorize the list of cards that are getting printed and just unload these because the risk is too high for the uncommon slot. Now, common slot's even worse. So common slot has cards like Rhystic Study. I don't know where Rhystic Study is, if it was in the common slot or uncommon slot or is in the rare slot. Regardless of whatever slot it's in, this card should go down quite substantially. Same thing with Manamorphose. If this is in the common slot, you absolutely have to get rid of your Manamorphose. The Thought Vessels, the Lotus Petals, all of those are sells. Ashnod's Altar again. Last time it was printed, those was an uncommon. All of these are sells. So now's the time, if you have these cards, to unload them. There are some goodies in the common slot too. Look, we're not even to the dollar range. And we get to where it starts getting bulk. Probably around these 30-cent cards are actually pretty decent too. It doesn't even look like they included too much bulk. We're even looking at a lot of these. Why are they printing this type of garbage? Yuck. I guess that's not an irrelevant card. So, but I mean, man, these cards were so bad anyway, just because of how much supply they have from the dual deck. But I guess they're printed in here as well. But yeah, these do look like very good slots. There will be a good opportunity too when this, again, it's all about supply. We got to really judge the supply of the set to when to make a move. But if you look at like conspiracy sets, you look at master sets, the cards that, where's the Secure Tribular? This is a very good example of a card that gets printed in like a conspiracy set and gets crushed down to a quarter, and it rebounds incredibly quick. So once we do get a handle on the supply of this, and this is in the common slot, if these do go down to the 15-10 cent range, you better believe you should pull the trigger on this card. The only exception is if this is going to be a print to demand and it's going to have a long shelf life, like a 2-year shelf life, and then they're going to do another one. These cards probably have missed their chance to ever be able to accrue value or ever be able to recover. So that will be the big $1 million question, is where the supply is at. If this ends up just being like a one-time event and then a convention center event, then these are very good pickups after that one-time event. So what I mean is, if this ends up being like a shop where stores only get one draft's worth of these mystery packs, or maybe every now and again, every set, they get the opportunity to buy mystery packs and do a draft, then this becomes a very lucrative set, because you can just see how much value is in this product, and just tons and tons of non-bulk uncommons and commons. And if they do get temporarily crushed because of the release, these are all amazing things to pick right back up, because they do have that chance of recovering. Again, we can look at Secure Tri-Builder. It happens every time. So we'll go to the conspiracy, take the crown version of this card right here. Its lowest price went down to 33 cents. So it came out, it was about $1 card. It got crushed down to 33 cents. And then it just continued to go up in value. And look at this card. It gets printed every Commander set. And it has a little bit of dip, then recovers. A little bit of a dip, then recovers. And a little bit of dip, then recovers. 13, 15, 16, 18, Commander 2019. All of these comes out getting crushed, and then it rebounds. So the same could be said for these type of cards from the set here, from the mystery pack set. So again, there are a lot of very good cards in here. Let's check out the rare slot just to see what the most expensive rares are. Lots over $10, which is a good sign. So the price point makes sense for these cards, and very good cards that they've picked, like Collective Brutalities and Tireless Trackers now for Pioneer. Kolaghan's Command. Look at all these beautiful Pioneer cards that should be going up regardless. Not too many, though. It does look like they did pick more of the Commander staples, like even like Nullspine Dragons and Caged Suns. Gravecrawler from Modern, Phyrexian Arenas. Supreme Verdict, I guess, is in here too. Asceticism, yeah. So it does look like a lot of So they've really seen, it doesn't seem like there's any rhyme or reason though. These drafts should be pretty miserable, to be honest. You're going to get a lot of random stuff, but maybe that's the fun of the draft format, is you just get like but I mean, you're going to get so many drafts where you get to crank a mob boss with no goblins, just because there's just so many different cards that it's going to be hard to do themes with this set. All right, so that's the mystery pack. Again, we need to know the supply. I'll try to keep everyone updated. If you're a patron, these will be available to patrons if we have a high supply. I doubt that my local game store is going to need more than a draft of this. We just don't have the cube players that really have the desire to play these. We've had some success with conspiracies and battle bonds in the past, but if this is a high supply, of course, I will be shipping that off to my patrons at distributor price. All right, last but not least, I do want to take a look at Pioneer. Pioneer should have a ban later on today. My predictions is no changes. I don't think there will be a ban today. I think they're going to let the meta adjust because we did have a pretty good showing from this Pioneer PTQ. If we actually look at the overall most played card, it was 46 with the Smuggler's Copter and then 28% with the Once Upon a Time. I'm thinking that eventually Once Upon a Time will need a ban. However, I don't know if Smuggler's Copter is one of those cards you do want to ban. It feels like kind of like a Thoughtseize Lightning Bolt type card or Path to Exile type card. You can't just say, okay, it's played in so many decks and say, oh, this card's bad for the format. I think it ties together a lot of archetypes that cannot function without Smuggler's Copter, and you actually make the field less diverse by banning a card like Smuggler's Copter than more diverse. So I don't think that they're going to ban it. I think it's perfectly power leveled. It's not a card that is just like it was in Standard. It was just so backbreaking. It was take care of Smuggler's Copter or lose the game. There are many, many decks that just scoff at Smuggler's Copter, and there's a lot of ways to deal with it. So I'm not predicting a Smuggler's Copter ban, especially the number 1 and number 2 decks did not run a Smuggler's Copter. It was just Mono Green Ramp and Izzet Phoenix, and neither one of them ran a Smuggler's Copter, but the next 6 out of the top 8 did run Smuggler's Copter, so it does have that. It's a little bit, I mean, it's something I would not invest in. So if you're looking to pick up Smuggler's Copters, it is on the radar, it is on the watch list, and for me, that's just too much risk. However, from my personal opinion, I don't think Smuggler Copter gets the ban. I think that Dig Through Time, Treasure Cruise, and Veil, or Once Upon a Time will get banned eventually in the format, but if you can see even on this top 10 list here, none of those cards actually saw much play. The Izzet Phoenix deck did run the Treasure Cruise, and that's the one thing that the Treasure Cruise, it has the big radar, is if Izzet Phoenix continues to be the dominant deck, well, this is the broken card out of the deck that just really lets you go crazy. I've played Izzet Phoenix. I've actually played it. I played it in our Pioneer tournament here at my store, and Treasure Cruise was the difference between winning and losing many games. But there were actually some games where Treasure Cruise actually felt bad. I think that these Izzet Phoenix decks eventually need to morph over to a Once Upon a Time Phoenix deck. I do have, it's basically this exact list here, except that you drop the strategic plannings, and I've actually dropped a Crackling Drake, so it's basically this exact list. Maybe it was I dropped a couple lands for the Once Upon a Time, and then this deck just allows, Once Upon a Time is very, very good with Crackling Drake, and with Treasure Cruise, it allows another additional card just to get into your graveyard for free, and that just ramps up your ability to cast these Treasure Cruise, and your ability for Crackling Drake to finish off the game. So I've played Phoenix, and it does, Treasure Cruise eventually will need to get banned because of decks like Phoenix being able to use it very, very efficiently. Dig Through Time, I think, will need a ban before Treasure Cruise does. Dig Through Time actually did see a lot of play in some of these control lists, and as a 3 of in many of them. See if we can actually find one of these control lists. None of the control lists did better than 7 and 2. This one did not, but here's a dig deck. So this one was running 2 digs in it, and this one was running 3 digs. Both of these are blue control. Of course, Dig Through Time and Torrential Garrulk is one of the best things you can do in this format, as it's just backbreaking. And then a lot of the Wilderness Reclamation decks, the Approach the Second Sun decks, the Nexus of Fate decks are also running Dig Through Times because of how efficient it works. It's very good with Search for Azcanta. I'm assuming that those decks are going to start to overwhelm the meta share. It's just too good of a combo digger, pun intended. And this, I think, is more problematic to the format than either Smuggler's Copter or Treasure Cruise. So that's my prediction is Dagas will be the next card banned, but I do not think it will be banned this week. I think all is good right now. I don't think they're going to go after anything. The other card that I think is definitely on the watch list, which is Ninth Oak Shrine of Nyx, because now this is 2 PTQs in a row, or 2 big tournaments in a row, that was dominated by a ramp deck. And it just means that these Ninth Oak Shrine of Nyx is just sometimes too backbreaking of a play. This deck doesn't even run like that insane of a finisher. Like, I would, if Ulamog was in the main or Ugin was in the main, I think it would make Ninth Shrine of Nyx not as because the payoff is getting up to that big ramp spell. But if these decks are just running cards that are not that great of finishers, I mean, I guess Voracious Hydra, but it's just value ramp, that I think makes Nykthos Shrine of Nyx more problematic, because if you're just pumping out many creatures of value and continuing up the pressure, and cards like Vivian and Arcbow allow you to then just get more cards out of your sideboard once it ticks up to 5, and then cast that big Ulamog or some finisher, then Nykthos Shrine of Nyx does seem like it's a problem card. So those would be my 4 cards that I put on the major watch list, with Smuggler's Copter as kind of like a tier 2 watch list. In descending order, I would say that or ascending order as far as problems are concerned, I'd say it's Dig Through Time, then Once Upon a Time, then Treasure Cruise, then Nykthos Shrine of Nyx, then Smuggler's Copter. So those are 5 that I would not invest in right now. I think that all 5 of them, or at least 4 of them, will eventually get the ban. And it depends if they want Nykthos Shrine of Nyx to be a format-defining card in the Pioneer meta, because there is a lot of ways to deal with Nykthos Shrine of Nyx. But I mean, the payoff is super good there. Like, they banned the Leyline of Abundance, and this entire time it probably was Nykthos Shrine of Nyx as the problem card. I could actually see Leyline of Abundance becoming unbanned. So if you do want like a risky spec, going in on Leyline Abundance now that it got the ban and the price is going to get crushed might be a smart move, because I think it is more of a fair card. See, the problem with Nykthos Shrine of Nyx, though, is a lot of the other devotion-based decks are really starting to get enabled by the Nykthos Shrine of Nyx. So Mono Black's kind of the weird one because it doesn't have a payoff with the Leyline, but Leyline of Anticipation and Leyline of I guess Leyline of Sanctity doesn't help white as much either, just to get the devotion out. But Leyline of the blue land, Leyline of Anticipation, and Leyline of Punishment are really good with those particular decks of adding that devotion and just going for the quicker kill. So in the mono red deck, the Leyline of Punishment already makes it so your opponents can't they can't target every time they target something. Let's look at Leyline of Combustion, Land of Combustion. Whenever you and at least one permanent you control becomes a target of a spell or ability, it deals 2 damage to that player. And I don't know, maybe that's kind of a weak card, but in the mono red devotion list that I've actually seen come out in some of these burn ones, it is adding that 2 devotion to then get a big Fanatic of Mogus, and adding basically 2 damage there, and it is pretty decent with your aggressive cards. So every time your opponent fatal pushes, every time they use any other spell to deal with what you have, or you get targeted, so when he Thought Season costs 4 damage, this is a pretty potent card just to main and get the devotion payoff for it. The other one with Leyline Anticipation, it just has such super synergy because devotion is very important in the mono blue deck. So if we look at the mono blue deck, we have Thassa, God of the Sea, that just needs a few devotion to get online. So Thassa provides the devotion, and it just needs to get up to 5 where Thassa can attack. If you have a Leyline of Anticipation and then any sort of 2-drop, on turn 3, Thassa is good to go as a 5/5. And it also lets Nykthos Shrine of Nyx make your entire team unblockable. After that, when you then get the so most of these, this one's not running Nykthos, huh? But then when you get the Master of Waves out with a Leyline of Anticipation, that really just adds that to it. Makes Master of Waves, even without any other permanent, add 2 more 2/1s. And then have, again, a lot of mana then cast with the Nykthos Shrine of Nyx some other big spell. So I've seen a lot of these other mono blue decks start to run cards like the Stolen by the Fae, for example, and just add a ton of devotion, then bounce back the creature with the highest converted mana cost. And the really cool thing with this, too, is I've seen some versions actually run ways to bounce back a Master of Waves, keep all the elemental tokens available, and then recast it. It'll be interesting too if people will start to go Master of Waves with the Risen Reef. I can't wait for some neat little decks trying to make elementals work. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Basically what I'm saying is I think the more problem card in the format is going to be Nykthos Shrine of Nyx, and it will eventually need to be handled. So what is Leyline of Abundance even looking at these days? This one, of course, I would Leyline of Abundance. This one I'd let come down to Earth even more. So once it gets down about that buck range again, if it does, so market price is back down to the 2. Let's take a look at TCG Player to see if these are really going low. So $1.38. Let's check the 4 or more. $1.50 with 99 cent shipping seems to be the best price at the moment. But if this doesn't sell, there's 5 of them here, there's 13 of them here. When these people start to adjust their prices, yeah, I'm thinking we can get in on this Leyline of Abundance for under $1. And the cool thing about this card is I'm thinking this deck is actually good enough for Modern, the one that was banned, the Nykthos Shrine of Nyx Leyline of Abundance, because you can get out like turn 2 Ugins with this combo, which is faster than what Tron can do. And so I get it that your mana dorks can get bolted, and that really hampers your ability to get that devotion out. But Leyline of Abundance and Burning Tree Emissary with Birds of Paradise and other efficient 1-drops, and then I think there's even some efficient 2-drops that are mana dorks that could easily go in this list. That can get some pretty potent ramp out. I'm even looking like Primeval Titans getting ramped out, but the best thing that gets ramped out, of course, is just that turn 2, turn 3 Ugin. Like a Tron type shell in Modern seems incredibly potent, and I think it'll just be a matter of time before we start to see this card actually see play in Modern. So for that reason, I think this is a pretty good pickup once this Pioneer banning comes down to Earth and comes back down to this price tag. You also have to keep in mind that this is going to be a popular card in EDH for years to come, and in Casual for years to come. You cannot ignore those two formats. There's a lot of demand for those, and this card still sticks around in Standard. We're really just missing a 1-drop to make Leyline of Abundance good again in Standard. So if there is something printed out of Theros or printed out of the next set after that of the Llanowar Elf or Elvish Mystic or something to that effect, Land of Abundance gets really good again. And that's why it's not seeing playing Standard at the moment, is the 1-drop Gilded Goose does not really have the best oomph with a Leyline of Abundance. So anyway, these are the type of cards you definitely want to look at for Pioneer. What expecting Pioneer to do is it's actually going to showcase a lot of people are going to come up with some decks that are extremely potent and then decide, hey, this might actually work in Modern. And I will not be surprised if a Pioneer deck actually does break out into Modern. We saw the same thing happen to Legacy. We saw cards that never saw play in Legacy that all of a sudden became good, like Birthing Pod, for example, in Modern. And they're like, hey, let's try this out. Let's try this out in Legacy and see how it works. And it did great. Sometimes it actually made an entire new deck in Legacy that people would have never thought of just because of the Modern format. So I'm thinking Pioneer is going to do that as well. So anyway, keep your eyes on the ban list. It should be announced later on this afternoon. And then, like I said, I don't think there will be any changes at this time around. But if there is, then you need to adjust accordingly, because it will shift the meta quite a bit if Smuggler's Copter is banned or one of those cards is banned. Anyway, I think we've gone long enough for this week's episode of the Market Monday. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.